Hello, my name is Charlie Kyle and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you watched my previous video, you know that I had a suicide in the family recently. My 21-year-old cousin. I went to his memorial and talking to his mom. You know, I went with my parents and my sister and my boyfriend, and I kind of felt like when we went to talk to his mom, she kind of mostly talked to me, and I kind of felt like that was because she thought that I could understand, which, as I said in the previous video, I do. And she had said that she told their son several times that she wished that he could hang out with me because we have similar energies and we're both quiet and sweet but hard to read and love animals and whatever. Anyways, and she told us that he had previously attempted suicide, which I did not know. And that got me thinking, how there's so much shame and so much stigma around mental health issues, and so people don't talk about them. You just kind of brush it under the rug, sweep it away, it didn't happen, nobody knows, you know. And I think that needs to change. You know, I don't know if I would have reached out or not, but had I known that he was going through that, maybe I would have. Like, it gave me the opportunity to start a conversation, because I don't have my life figured out. I'm like in this big, huge transition phase in my life. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but like, I'm so glad that when I attempted suicide, I did not succeed. And I spent the whole beginning of my life constantly suicidal, like not actively suicidal most of the time, but it was just this feeling that was always there. Always. And it's not now. Not that I don't get depressed, I do. Like I said, I'm confused a lot, like I don't know what I'm doing, and not that I never, not like that feeling never comes up, because it does, but it isn't at all the same. Like I do not want to die at all anymore. Even if that feeling comes up, I have this desire to figure it out. Even if I have no idea how to do that. Like, I believe that it's possible, and I'm not going to stop trying. And I don't want to die. And, you know, he'll never get the chance to learn that. And, you know what, I probably wouldn't have made a difference, but maybe just knowing that somebody has made it through might have given him options. And that's another thing. I found out that I don't know what all psych meds he had taken, but he had a lot of side effects, pain, physical pain, and tics that made life a lot harder. And I do know that he was on Ativan, and I don't feel like the general public is educated in any way about psych meds and the possible side effects, and we're just told, take a pill and you'll feel better. Well, that really isn't the case at all. In therapy today, I just had the conversation with my therapist about this, how they still tell you that a combination of medication and therapy is most effective, and that isn't true. Like, studies have shown consistently that therapy alone gets much better results than with medication. All that medication really does is interrupt like your biological processes. It prevents you from being able to process the emotions that you need to process to heal from trauma. So, like, in essence, it's doing the opposite of what you need. Sorry, there's a bug. You might temporarily feel better. I never got any relief when I tried medication, but it isn't helping. To me, I always think of it this way, like it's like putting a bandage on a broken leg that might cover up like any visible signs of wounding, but it's not going to do anything to set the bone to actually heal the wound. And that's kind of what I feel like psych meds are like. But if you look into any psych meds really, but let's just stick with the Ativan benzodiazepines. There are a lot of suicides, a lot of addicts, a lot of really terrible things. So I just thought I would share a little bit of my story just to put it out there, start a conversation. If anybody hears this, just give you the opportunity to look into it yourself, not to just blindly trust a psychiatrist or doctor, because they're always going to recommend medication. That's their job. That's where they make money. But without getting into all of the backstory, which is hard for me. It's really hard for me not to tell a story without telling all of it. But I think I mentioned this before. I had kind of a breakdown. I fell apart for a while. And I'd moved to another state, and then I came back home, and I was so broken and so anxious and not at all well that everyone in my family, taking advice from a psychiatrist, thought I needed to be medicated to be able to handle therapy. And I didn't want to be medicated. I had been medicated before. I had been through withdrawal for medication before, horrible withdrawal. And like I said, I never had any positive effects. I only had side effects. So I didn't want to do that, but everyone else wanted me to, and I felt like pressure to do it. And at that point, it's like I didn't care about myself enough to stand up for the reasons why I didn't want to be. But I was put on Ativan, and for the first week, the dose that they had me on, I was absolutely delirious. I couldn't tell the difference between waking life and dream. I don't remember much of it. I wrote when I was on it, and reading that, it's like somebody else's life. I really don't remember much. But so they lowered my dose, and it's an anti-anxiety medication. It didn't do anything for my anxiety. What it did do was basically knock out any hopeful or positive parts of myself that I did have, and left all of the anxious, despair-filled, hopelessness-filled, rage-filled parts running the show. Talking to my sister after I'd gotten off the medication, she said that it was like there was something missing from me. Like I didn't respond like myself. I was kind of zombified, which I couldn't tell that at all. I just knew that I felt hopeless, and I knew that the medication was making it worse. So I wanted to get off of it. And I think that that's a story for a different video, maybe, and getting into a different topic. What happened when I tried to find help to be weaned off of it in a healthy manner because I didn't want to go through withdrawal again. Yeah, that's a different video. Um, the care that we have for mental health issues leaves a lot to be desired. It's more than that. I mean, be careful with who you trust. If something doesn't feel right, see somebody else, because I was almost hospitalized for wanting to be weaned off of medication healthily. Like, that's a whole nother story. Just be careful who you trust. Where I forget where I was. So they took my medication down, and I was zombified, but hopeless. It was like like I said, all of the hopeless parts of me, all of the despair, all of the rage, all of the anxiety was amplified, and I could not see how there was any possible way that anything could get better. And I ended up in the emergency room in crisis. I had been in crisis many times, and I'd only been to the emergency room when I actually did try to kill myself before, because my family would deal with it at home. So for them to call the hospital, to call 911, that tells you how crazy I got on the medication. They thought that I had tried to attempt suicide, but I didn't. I had taken a small overdose of the medication because I wanted to go back to that delirium-filled place, because I just wanted it to stop. And then they took the medication from me because they thought I was trying to kill myself. And at this point I self-harmed, and self-harm had gone way up since I started taking the medication. And I went in the bathroom and I cut myself. And this is something I normally tried to hide. Like, the only person that ever saw it was my, at the time, husband. It's hard for me to even talk about this. Like, I feel horrible for what I did, even though, like, I know it wasn't me. I wasn't in control. I made my sister, because my sister was here, because my then husband had called her because he didn't know what to do. I made her come look at my wounds. Because I felt so angry, like, you guys keep telling me it's gonna be okay, but, like, you don't have to feel this way. Like, you don't know what this feels like. Look at it. Like, this is real. But I don't really remember exactly what happened, but they called 911, and that's another thing. I didn't go willingly. A cop threatened to tase me for going limp. At the hospital, I had to be sedated and restrained. Oh yeah, it was a mess. So, I mean, I was a mess before I started taking the medication, but I got so much worse. And then when I started to wean off, so when I started to get back. I was in therapy, and I started to wean off, and I did neurofeedback to help me with the withdrawal. And then I started getting better, because when I fell apart, the situation had a lot to do with it. So getting me out of that situation, I mean, I had a lot of work to do, and I still do, but I should have started improving, not gotten so much worse. But so anyways, I guess this is a lot longer than I meant for the video to be. I just want to start a conversation. I think that there's a good possibility that my cousin would still be here had he not been medicated, especially lorazepam, Ativan. My grandma, his great grandma, he's actually my second cousin, but when they medicated her in a nursing home, and she got crazy too. She started talking about she should just die, she should just die, she should just die. Educate yourself, be aware, talk about your experiences. If you need help, reach out to somebody. I can't give you any answers